Okay, I'll open the meeting. It's Tuesday, December 27th, 2022, and this is a meeting of the Wolfeboro Budget Committee. Tonight we're going to do some revisit items with Parks and Rec, and then we're going to cover some warrant articles. Let me see here. Matt, can you lead us in Pledge of Allegiance?
Sure.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Matt. Mr. Town Manager, have anything before we start?
No, just as you said, we've got a couple of revisits to go through. Christine is here to answer those, and then we'll go into warrant articles. There are a few warrant articles that the Board of Selectmen have not voted on, so those have not been passed forward to you at this point. I'll try to go through the presentation as quickly as I can, and Thursday night you'll be able to ask questions of the department heads that you may have. Short of that, back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Christine, what do we have for you? The Booster Beach and the baseball field?
Yes, so in the back of your book, capital outlay, it's page 11 and 12, but I've made a copy for you. It's in front of you, so you don't have to jump back to capital outlay. She requests attached back up to the previously submitted requests. Sorry.
Okay, let's deal with the Booster Beach septic.
Okay, so Brewster Beach Septic, we were finally able to obtain a quote. So I had requested $10,000. The quotes were $11,960.
If that goes through, when will they start the project?
This would have to be in a springtime project.
So would they start this spring?
Yes, we would try to get it done before the peak season, so we can not have any issues with that pump anymore.
No, it's on town land?
Yes. Is that ours?
That's one of the issues that we have to work out, because as you've alluded to, is a combination of Brewster property, town land. We'd really like to put this on town land, and if we have to put it on town land, that means the parking lot, which means we may have to do a little bit of work in the parking lot, but it shouldn't be a big number beyond this.
Has anyone talked to Brewster to get their thoughts on it?
I did not.
Well, we've always had a system in there, right? So I don't.
I've always managed the buildings and anything that pertains
Right.
to running the beach, so
Right.
I can talk to them as a courtesy, but typically we've just handled all the things that we do to keep the beach open.
I even wonder about the need to put this pump in the parking lot. It's really probably the closest to the building, the better off you are. And the building is, our building's been on that beach for a million years. So, it is what it is. The question I have is, why 10,000 when they gave you a bid for 11,900?
I pulled that number out, the 10,000, I just kinda came up with it, cause we were chasing people around, so that was my ballpark. We finally were able to get someone to give us a hard quote, so I wasn't too far off.
So you don't wanna go 11,900 then on the,
I do, I wanna go up on 11.9, so,
I make a motion that this be increased to 11.9.
I'll second it.
thank
Okay.
you. 11,960 or 11.9?
Well, I'll try and make the motion.
The quote says $11,960, is that your motion, sir?
960?
11,960,
960 then.
okay?
Me too.
So, once again, we don't know if this is gonna be on town land or, I'm just concerned how you're gonna, this is right by the lake, I'm concerned how you're gonna get the permits from DES to do this if you don't know.
It is far enough from the water that you don't have to get those type of permits. It's
Okay.
not like right on the water's edge, it's over, closer to the parking lot.
Yeah, like that's over 75 feet, right? Way over that.
So where we set up now, where would it be, behind the bathhouses now?
Yes, that's where it is, right behind the bathhouses.
Okay, any other questions? Seeing none, the motion is to increase the capital request for the Brewster Beach to $11,960. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Okay, next one is the baseball field improvements.
Yep, so that one I had requested 60,000, but when I went to talk to the people about it, looks like we'll be able to get the materials for about 3,000. And then I added on the back page just the other things. So we're trying to bring that baseball field up to where it was currently. So we need to redo the infield, handle some of the grass and weeds, replace the fencing, plastic fencing covering over there, fix the dugouts, do the new bases, repair any irrigation system, and a drag rate for the maintenance of the field to keep it that dirt.
Okay, so you want to drop this down to 10,000?
Yes, from 60 to 10.
Thank you. Anyone want to do a motion to that?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Going down to 10.
I'll second.
Okay. Thank you for doing it, Christine, I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Any further discussion?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
just a quick one. The Cal Ripken League, bottom line, is this why we're talking about this? Is because of the Cal Ripken League using it more?
Yes, yeah. So they have increased.
Have they moved away from the Nick?
So they're still using the Nick, but with their teams, they have been trying to use our fields more. They typically use it late April through May, early June. And just it hasn't been up to par, so they asked us if we could do some work on it, and we were in the midst of our budget, so we put it in there so we could do it for the future. We know it hadn't been utilized in a while, and then they started utilizing it again just because of the pricing over there. So we decided to put it in there.
That was my question, because I haven't seen a whole lot of activity on that field for many, many years.
Yeah.
And, even during the summer, I just, $10,000, bring it down, that's great.
Yeah.
But I question the utilization of the field at this point.
Yeah, well, we do use it for day camp, when we have day camp down there. A lot of families will go down there. We've been in the habit of locking it and putting a sign on it because those dugouts have been a little bit,
Vandalized.
yes. So we've been monitoring a little bit. It's been nice to be down there for a little bit to see what's going on and kind of redirect people. But our hope is to add some things. I did talk to the American Legion. They were interested in maybe doing a softball, an adult softball. The problem is it's a smaller field, but we've done it before, and what you do is you just make, if they hit it out of the park, it's automatic out, so then they're able to utilize that. So there is some capability. Once it bring it back to where it needs to be, I think we'll see some more utilization of it.
Okay.
I played in the league.
Thank you.
I played in the league where the ball was as soft as a marshmallow. You couldn't hit it out of that
Yeah.
field if you tried to.
Yeah.
So you can do that.
John,
Yes, sir.
I have a question. Does the Cal Ripken League or others that use it pay for it?
They do not.
I know when my kids were involved in that, we usually spent a few hours down there raking and doing work around. the
And
place.
they have offered to help us when
Yeah.
we get all the materials and stuff. They're willing to help us do that, so that's why
They
we're.
still control the hot dog stand, whatever, is that still functional?
So they haven't, we got rid of that little shack, but when we created that pavilion, we did make a concession area, so if they were to do that, they have capability of doing that.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, the motion is to reduce the capital request for the baseball field improvements to $10,000. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Any other questions for Christine? Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Good night.
We're gonna go over some of the warrant articles. We're not gonna vote on them tonight. We're just gonna ask some questions if we can. Go ahead, Jim.
Okay, Casey, do you wanna go over the spreadsheet first?
Oh, sure.
So Casey's giving you a spreadsheet. that kind of explains where we're at, and she'll explain that to you before we get into it.
So this is a work in progress for proposed 2023 warrant articles. Leanne did email it to you. I just courtesy copied it all for you, so no changes have happened since you received it. The Board of Selectmen last looked at this. The date is up at the top on 12/21/2022. Some of the bond numbers might be changing, so now they're just placeholders. The first column is a total of all the requests that have been asked for, a little over 24 million. And then really it's the sheets after, the columns afterwards are telling you where we anticipate the funds coming from. General fund bonds, sewer fund bonds, revolving phone loans, cash, general fund cash. General fund cash this year, right now, as it stands, is about 308,000 less requested than last year. We had 2.2 last year, and we got about 1.9 million this year. Similar to on the right-hand side, the tax rate we anticipated last year was 96 cents per thousand, and we're currently stand at 0.81. I do just want to make you aware that because bonds are always in the second year, there's no current tax impact, so it kind of dilutes the number a little bit, but this is similar to what you received last year.
Can I ask something, Casey?
What, I'm sorry?
Can you just explain to people that are watching?
Sure.
81 cents on the tax rate. What does that mean for like a $300,000 house? Is it 81 cents per thousand if it's gonna go up? Or
Yes, so if your house was, what did you say, 300?
say 300,000.
Just for the municipal piece, so that doesn't include the county or the school, your tax bill would go up $243.
But that's not really accurate, because last year we were at 96 cents, correct?
Right,
So
but,
it's actually gonna be a reduction.
right, but that didn't, 96 also didn't count the bonds,
Correct.
yes. But an
Okay.
81 cents
So we're gonna
increase.
start paying for what we approved last year, right now.
Last year, we did all the non-bond articles.
Okay.
And then in 23, 23, we'll start picking up last year's bonds.
Okay, so this won't affect your tax rate until
4, the bonds.
24, okay. Thank you.
Did I miss anything, Jim?
Nope, I think you got it.
Okay.
So I'll get into these, I'll go over them, give you a little background information, try to answer any questions you have. And then Thursday night, you can ask very specific questions to the department heads after you've had a opportunity to digest it and review it. There's a couple of moving targets still here, which we plan to have solidified for Thursday night. Short of that, what we're looking at right now, the bond hearings are scheduled for January 4th, 6 p.m. And right now, we're looking at a public safety building for $12.5 million, Libby Museum for $1,490,000, sewer line extensions for $1 million, and South Main water line, $1,690,000, and that would be a state revolving loan fund. We have an inclement weather date scheduled for January 11th at 6 p.m. So the first article is the municipal electric utility vote to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $170,000 for the purpose of replacing the municipal electric department boat trailer and associated equipment. The amount of $170,000 shall be funded from the Electric Enterprise Fund. This expenditure shall not result in any increase in the tax rate. This appropriation is non-lapsing pursuant to RSA 32.7, Roman numeral 6, and shall lapse on December 31, 2024, or upon completion of the project, whichever occurs first. No tax rate impact. This was recommended by the Board of Selectmen, a vote of 5-0. I believe Barry had provided you his slideshow. This pretty much is the same slideshow. Current boat is a 20-foot fishing vessel, essentially. It sustained some damage this year. Regardless, it's undersized for what they do, and it has met its life expectancy of 20 years. Will be 20 years old when the new boat's delivered. Not a lot of hours on it, and you know, the capacity alone is an issue. You put a transformer on it with 2 guys, the boat is overloaded. So we're looking for this to be replaced. As you can see, some of the damage which was sustained this year, and basically it was declared a total loss from Primex. What Barry's proposing for a boat is something along these lines, a utility vessel which has the ability to, at the bow, drop down for unloading and loading of transformers and other associated equipment. There are alternative manufacturers who he's looking into, and this is a typical boat configuration which you would see with Public Service in New Hampshire or New Hampshire Electric Co-op. Boat would be funded through the existing fund balance of the electric department, no impact on the tax rate, and no effect on the existing customers' utility rates either. That's that article, pretty straightforward. I think Barry explained it to you a little bit the other night. If you have any questions, he'll be here Thursday to be able to answer. Anything I can help you with?
Okay, thank you. Next one.
Okay, next one's a mini excavator. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $130,000 for the purpose of purchasing a mini excavator. The amount of $78,000 shall be funded through the general fund. The amount of $26,000 shall be funded from the Water Enterprise Fund. The amount of $26,000 shall be funded from the Sewer Enterprise Fund. This appropriation is non-lapsing pursuant to RSA 32(7) Roman numeral 6 and shall lapse on December 31, 2024 or upon completion of the project, whichever occurs first. Estimated tax rate impact for 2023, 3 cents per thousand of assessed valuation. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote of 5-0. So what we have, this is an example of what the machine is that we're looking at. It's a Volvo similar to what we're running for equipment now. Over the past several years, we've been using these more and more, and the rental costs are incrementally rising.
Jim, I got a quick question for you.
Yeah.
This is gonna be used exclusively by water and sewer?
Water, sewer, and highway. So highway will provide the operator, as we traditionally do. And, you know, the highway department may use it for ditching, culvert replacement, water department will use it for water line replacements, etc.
So that 3 cents is only reflected in the 60% of what the
It's
other
just-
40% will go to the users. Okay.
Correct. And I know Mr. Loman will ask the question, why is this coming to us in a warrant article as opposed to part of the capital reserve? It's really an expansion of our fleet beyond what we've traditionally had. So we felt we should bring it to the voters to make the decision whether or not they want to expand the fleet to recognize this piece of equipment and utilize it going forward. Any questions?
Yes.
Yeah.
This is going to be used solely to maintain and repair the existing roads. Does it mean that from now on, that the highway department will not be working on contracted highways, roads in town?
So for all intents and purposes, that is our plan going forward. Now,
Okay.
let me just clarify one issue. Okay, this weekend, we had some pretty significant storms. This past weekend, we had some pretty significant storms, washed out a couple of roads. Obviously, our crews were there doing that road work to get the road passable.
Yes.
But going forward, the contracted work is not gonna be done by our people.
Thank you.
Okay, sewer pump station upgrades.
Okay, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $648,000 for the purpose of paying for increased costs of engineering, equipment, construction, and inspections of the Laner and Mill Street sewer pump stations. This appropriation is non-lapsing pursuant to RSA 32(7) Roman numeral 6 and shall lapse on December 31, 2024 upon completion of the project, whichever occurs first. This will be paid from the state aid grant in the amount of $648,000 over the next 5 years from the RIB project which would result in no tax rate impact. Tax rate impact, 2023, 0 per thousand of assessed valuation. Board of Selectmen recommended this 5-0. So last year, we came in front of you asking for funds for the Mill Street and Laner Street pump stations, based on a conditions assessment which was performed in 2021. Those articles passed, and we are in the final stages of engineering now, and we're seeing cost escalations. So we have received notification that we will be receiving the state aid grant in the amount of $648,000. And right now, the estimated increases: Mill Street, $40,000; Laner Street, $341,000. Now, we did close out the RIB fund, and we're approximately, based on that funding formula, about $100,000 short. So that means a total increase of $491,000 to hopefully finish this project. We still have concerns going forward about cost of electrical components, and we were just advised last week that the actual pump station, we may see escalations in the neighborhood of 10 to 15%. Those pump stations have been ordered, but they're telling us that we may be running into this. Here's the backup showing HDR Engineering, their estimate based on 12/21/2022 for Laner Street and for Mill Street. You may recall last year when this Laner Street project came in front of you, Dave Ford was going to do most of the engineering and all of the work as a design build. He hit it pretty close, but we're a little bit low there, so we're going to have to bring in additional money. We discovered significantly more issues with the Mill Street pump station. That's why you're seeing the significant increase there. With that said, I can try to answer any questions you have. I believe we're about 60% on engineering now. They're anticipating getting the bids out for the fall, or excuse me, for early spring, to have construction moving along and potentially completed on the Laner Street pump station in the fall.
So no service will be interrupted through the summer or anything like that?
No, they will install bypass pumps, and with the new design that will be equipped with bypass pumps as well. So if we have problems with the sewer pump stations, we can hook up a bypass pump.
And what was the tax increase? No tax increase?
No tax rate impact, because we're gonna use funds that we'll be receiving over the next 5 years through the state aid grant, as a result of the RIB project coming in.
Okay. Any questions? Sewer pump station upgrades. Okay, sewer extension.
Okay, police vehicle replacement, Board of Selectmen have not voted to push this to the Budget Committee yet, so that's on hold. AFSCME contract is the next one. To see if the town will vote to approve the cost items included in the 2-year collective bargaining agreement reached between Board of Selectmen and Local 534 of the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, AFSCME, which calls for the following increases in salaries and benefits at current staffing levels of 43 employees. 2023 wages $86,963, benefits $20,870 for a total of $107,733. 2024 $60,917, benefits $14,475 for a total of $75,392. And further to raise and appropriate $107,733 for the current year, such sum representing the additional costs attributable to the increase in wages benefits required by the new agreement over those that would be paid at the current levels. Estimated tax rate impact for 2023, 4 cents per thousand of assessed valuation, recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote of 5-0.
Jim, what's the percentage increase?
So this collective bargaining unit in year 1 is receiving a 5% increase, and in year 2 is 3.5%.
That's 3.5% on top of the 5% of the prior year, right?
Correct.
Thank you.
We also struck some language with them where we're gonna form a committee to look at healthcare, so that management and all of the collective bargaining agreements, our units are gonna come together in a committee to try and either find a way to bring up the employee's contribution or transition to a less expensive healthcare plan for the town. So that's actually in the collective bargaining agreements.
How will this agreement affect non-union people?
Excuse me?
How will this agreement affect the increases for non-union people?
So, we asked the Board of Selectmen, I'm not prepared to provide it for you tonight, but I am on Thursday. Casey and I talked about this today. Non-union staff will be receiving 5%.
Did you do any studying or comparison between what our folks do compared to other communities as far as salaries? Is the ballpark of the same?
So, I've done some of that work, but one of the other things that we stated that we would do in both collective bargaining agreements is, for the 2025 or 2024 budget, we're gonna try to fund a wage and benefit study. So that the last one was done in 2016, so it's time to do it. I've done some research, specifically with the union positions, and I don't think we're terribly far off.
Okay, thank you.
And we plan to do the study for the whole town-wide.
Correct.
Any other questions for the AFSCME contract? Okay, we move on.
So, same language, 17 employees for the police union, 2023 wages, $40,843, benefits, $19,936, for a total of $64,780. Year 2, $22,080 in wages, $6,640 in benefits, for a total of $28,720. And to further raise and appropriate the sum of $64,780 for the current year, such sum representing the additional costs attributable to increases in wages and benefits required by the new agreement over those that would be paid at current levels. Estimated tax rate impact, 2 cents per thousand of assessed valuation. This was unanimously recommended by the Police Commission, 3-0, and recommended by the Board of Selectmen, 5-0. This, very similar, it's 5.5% in year 1, and 3% in year 2. So the 2 years between the 2 contracts, they are the same percentage.
You need to fix your,
Yeah, I see I've got a typo.
yeah, the 3-0 goes up to the police commission.
Yeah, I see I've got a typo. Thank you.
Yep.
This is for 17 employees. Does it include the dispatchers and all that stuff too? It's not more than 17 with the dispatchers?
Commissioner?
I'm sorry, what was the question? I couldn't hear it.
Is it more, isn't it more than 17 employees when you include communications and all those folks?
It should be more. I don't know what the exact number is.
I don't believe it is.
I don't believe it is, yes. I have them listed here, and the document that I gave back to the union, I think they would have challenged it if I had wrong. I have 11 officers, and I have 6
So 17.
dispatchers.
Okay, so
11
the
and 6.
chief, the captain, lieutenant, they don't belong.
No.
Yeah, there's 3 positions that don't belong, right? The
Okay.
chief, the captain, and the lieutenant.
Lieutenant.
Okay, thanks.
John, I have a question.
Yes, John?
How many employees did you say it impacts?
17,
That all police or police and communications?
police and communications.
Thank you.
John, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
What's the starting pay now for policemen? Now and then with the increase?
I didn't hear the question. Starting pay for police officers.
I can help.
22 and change?
Yeah.
Did you get your answer? I'm sorry.
Yeah, and then for
What'd you say?
dispatch,
22 and change.
where do you start the dispatch?
Dispatch, you said.
1742 for a regular dispatcher and 1921 for a senior dispatcher, and that's in 22, not in 23.
And then the increases come on top.
That's
Okay.
correct.
Jim, are the medical benefits the same for both groups? Okay. And is that 20%,
10%.
10%?
10% for all town employees.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, let's move on to town road upgrades.
Okay, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $850,000 for the purpose of upgrading and engineering for town roads, sidewalks, and drainage systems. To authorize funds in the amount of $850,000 from the town's unassigned fund balance. This appropriation is non-lapsing pursuant to RSA 32-7 Roman numeral 6 and shall lapse on December 31, 2024, or upon completion of the project, whichever occurs first. This appropriation shall not result in any increase to the tax rate. Estimated tax rate impact for 2023, 0 per thousand of assessed valuation, recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote of 5-0. What our problem here is, we've got 67.5 miles of road, 53.5 of that is paved, 14 miles of gravel. Our solution is annual road upgrade work, which we are gonna be doing with contracted services, not your highway department going forward. Updating the road surface management plan, which we have right here. It was adopted in 2019. It's available in this building. It's also available in my office if you'd like to see it. And we're also planning next year on doing a lot more road maintenance to protect our roads, including ditching, additional shoulder gravel, that type of thing to hopefully prolong the life of our roads. When you look at our fund balance, as of last year, when we closed the books, we had $4.2 million in unassigned fund balance. Last year, we used $1 million for roads. This year, we're anticipating using $850,000 for roads. If we do that, we'll have an unassigned fund balance remaining of $2,385,158, or 5.42% of our operating budget. It puts us in good position, and hopefully our revenues are in good enough shape this year that that number will come up as a result of closing the books for 2022. What we're looking at for roads next year: Trask Mountain Road, Upper Trask Mountain Road, Haynes Hill Road, and then we're also looking for some engineering funds so that when we come to you next year at this time, we can give you an estimate of what those costs for those roads are gonna be, and contingency. That makes up the $850,000, which is just shy of 2 miles worth of road surface. Any questions?
At 850, that's gonna take care of Trask Mountain, Upper Trask Mountain, gonna be all just like ready to go. Okay.
That is the plan.
Okay.
Obviously, as you're well aware, when they start getting into the construction and whatnot, they run into issues, and hopefully we're able to handle those issues with a contingency. But if not, we'll have to look at it. But that is our plan, and these are the current estimates that were provided as of, I'm gonna say that was 8 of 2022, not 2023.
John, I have a question.
Go ahead, John.
We're using this out of surplus from 2022, or 2021.
Out of the unassigned fund balance, correct?
That's right. Don't we have a capital reserve for this type of work?
We do not.
I thought we were putting, okay.
Nope.
Putting $1 million is a rough estimate every year, right?
We've been trying to do $1.2 million of road work every year.
Yes.
But we have not put it into a capital reserve fund.
Okay.
We've tried to do the 2-year appropriation, and it seems to be working well.
Thank you.
Okay, Green Street upgrade.
So, again, this is identified in the book here, but what we're looking at is Green Street upgrade. See if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $530,000 for the purpose of upgrading Green Street. Funds shall be utilized for engineering fees, stormwater drainage system, and replacement of water and sewer mains, and rebuilding the roadway. $100,000 from the Water Enterprise Fund shall be for the purpose of engineering and replacing vintage water mains which service Green Street. $430,000 from taxation shall be for the purpose of engineering and replacing the existing sewer main in Green Street, stormwater drainage systems, and rebuilding of Green Street. This appropriation is non-lapsing pursuant to RSA 32.7, Roman numeral 6, and shall lapse on December 31, 2024, or upon completion of the project, whichever occurs first. Estimated tax rate impact, 18 cents per thousand of assessed valuation, recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote of 5-0. This here is a sheet that shows the condition of Green Street. Green Street itself is not in terrible shape. The problem is we've got a lot of lead lines, lead gooseneck necks in that the water line that services that street. So we need to get those resolved. The other thing is with this particular project, which we've learned in the past 6 weeks, the sewer lines on that road are 12 feet deep, but we are actively cameraing those, and we may actually just line those instead of digging them up and replacing them depending on the condition that comes back, but it's looking positive right now. We did this type of project on High and Park a couple years ago, hybrid type of project, and it seemed to work well. We're not anticipating running into the same type of struggles that we ran into there, and this will be a contracted service. And one of the things that we've discussed with Mr. Dempsey, who was here last week, when we do these projects, such as Green Street, and we replace the water lines, we're gonna replace it right in and put new meters in, so we can capture some of this, and we know that we don't have to go back to that street for a number of years for anything. Try to answer any questions you may have.
Question.
Go ahead.
I'm a little curious, Jim, when you say $100,000 to replace the water mains which service that road, that's it?
That road, I believe, is 600 feet,
100,000, wow. Okay.
so.
Walk
Is
up
there
for
any,
any questions?
is there any possibility of that going on a pressurized sewer system or no, like sewer road?
It's all gravity fed.
All gravity fed? So that's why you're thinking of lining it? Gotcha.
It's so deep right now.
Yeah.
If we have to go that deep, that's what we've got budgeted, to go
Yeah.
12 feet deep for replacement, because that's where it ties in to the invert on Main Street,
Okay,
and then goes across to Crescent,
yeah.
and then down Pine Street, but it's looking good that we may be able to line these.
Okay, thank you.
Go ahead, Bob.
Does either one of those mains, water sewer service parts of Brewster Academy?
I don't believe they do.
Okay. So if those mains, vintage water mains is an understatement. If those mains look anything like the ones that came out of Clark Road, holy cow, long overdue.
Okay, I guess we're all set there, Jim, go ahead.
John,
Oh, sorry, John, go ahead.
excuse me, I'm going to bounce back to the previous one. You say you're taking it from fund balance, and there's no impact on the taxes. Isn't there really an impact there, because that money would be available to offset taxes? Is that-
Sure.
That's right, so there is an impact, isn't there?
Okay, how do we calculate it?
I don't know.
No, if you were to take it out of savings,
I beg
you
your
know,
pardon?
if you would take it out of undesignated fund balance in a
That's
future
right.
year and use it towards taxes, it would bring it down.
That's
But they're
right.
not doing that, so there is no tax impact. If you're not using it, there is no tax impact.
Well, I should expect that some of that undesignated excess, really, would be used to offset taxes. So it's going to impact it somehow.
There's no current year tax impact because they're not using it to offset the tax bills.
Well.
You are correct.
We'll discuss this tomorrow, okay?
You are correct. No, and we can talk about it, but you are correct. You're using you're using savings that could have lowered tax bills in the future, but that is not a motion that is on the table.
John?
Yes, sir.
I see this differently. I always see this as, this is, that unexpended fund balance account is from prior surplus money that was not spent in the budget, or revenues that were higher than what was anticipated. So rather than affecting future taxes, it's basically you're using money from prior years that you put in the bank, and now you're using it to offset this warrant article. So I don't think it has a tax impact.
And we've only done this for critical and popular projects. And when I mean popular, everybody likes to have their roads redone. So if we can get the roads redone without that 50-cent impact on the tax rate, I think.
Gotta have impact.
Well, you actually doing this a little differently, but I really don't see the difference. It's both a good use. The prior, we had a couple of town managers, but when Dave Owen was here, he was here for, I don't know, maybe 12 years. He used to buy down the tax rate with the unexpended fund balance. You are using it to offset the cost of warrant articles, which is equally as good in my book. So it's just a question of how you want to use the money, and that's it. I think it's a good thing.
And I think the other thing, from my perspective, is if we use this, if we were to use this to buy down the tax rate, and then all of a sudden, one year we don't have that type of revenue and we can't buy down the tax rate, you're gonna see a significant impact in the increase of your taxes.
Yep.
Well, it also goes back to the thing, we've spoke about this many times. We created this idea in CIP years ago. You get yourself, and you're spending in your warrant articles, you get yourself up to a certain level, and we brought in the number of $2 million. And if you can keep yourself at that $2 million, this year you came under, then you're keeping your taxes level every year. So rather than raising them, so
We're trying.
well, I think you're doing good with it. So I think that's a good thing.
I'm not saying that it's not a good job to use the money that way, but I think it's deceptive.
Understood.
Okay, Jim, where are we going now? To capital reserve funds?
I've got one, the readoption of the veterans' tax credits. So this came to us from our assessor. Shall the town of Wolfeboro vote in accordance with RSA 3227A to readopt provisions of RSA 7228-2 previously adopted for an optional veterans tax credit at $500 per year. If readopted, all veterans tax credits previously adopted will also be $500 per year, the same amount as the optional veterans tax credit. If re-adopted and approved, this article shall take effect for the 2023 property tax year. Recommended by the Board of Selectmen 5-0. If you have any questions, let me know and I will fire them off to the assessor.
Does that include spouses, if the veterans just
I believe it does.
died? Okay.
I believe it does. The only reason I know that is because my mother gets it.
I'm all for this one.
I'm sure you are.
I'm a general-
Well earned. School Resource Officer, Middle School, this is tabled. The Board of Selectmen will be discussing this Thursday evening at 5 p.m. Fire truck lease purchase, this is tabled. Hopefully the Board of Selectmen will be visiting this Thursday at 5 p.m. and I will have something for you Thursday evening when we meet. Public Works, Vehicles and Equipment Replacement Capital Reserve Funding. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $300,000 to be added to the existing Public Works Vehicle and Equipment Capital Reserve Fund, which is under the custody of the trustee of trust funds, with selectmen designated as agents to expend. Estimated tax rate impact for 2023, 13 cents per thousand of assessed valuation, recommended by the Board of Selectmen, 5-0. Our problem here is highway's got 50-plus vehicles and equipment that are in this capital reserve program. Assessed value in excess of $3 million. We're seeing cost escalations that are absolutely crazy, and these vehicles have high cost of ownership. Electronics, emissions, they obviously work in less than pristine conditions, and quality today is poor at best. And when we get to the end of the life cycle of these vehicles, they have little to no trade-in or value. So our solution is a replacement schedule, which is currently under review by the director, Steve Randall. We're working on an improved maintenance program with the highway chief mechanic, and we're purchasing vehicles of higher quality. Understand that also comes with higher upfront costs. This is the previous program, and if you look at this in 2020, in 2024, we were scheduled to replace a truck with a blown motor that we replaced in 2020. That truck is actually holding up pretty well for us, so we're hopeful to get a couple more years out of it. At the bottom, you'll also see a solid waste trash compactor. That failed on us this year. If you recall, there was no recycling of plastics, which occurred for a long period of time. That is now online. So those two purchases are purchases that won't be happening. The other item that's scheduled for replacement is a 3/4 ton pickup for the foreman. We need to do that. That truck will be a hand-me-down to solid waste, but the foreman needs a new vehicle. So what we're looking to replace this year with this money, HD8, which is a 2002 case loader. It was used as their primary loader until 2019. It has in excess of 25,000 hours, and it requires 25 to 30,000 in repairs, which include motor, hydraulics, and brakes. This vehicle was originally scheduled for replacement in 2027. Our solution is to purchase a more agile machine equipped with a pickup broom and a plow. Estimated cost of the machine is $140,000. Broom and plow, $35,000, for a total of $175,000. This is what you're looking at for a machine. It's a little bit smaller. The broom, they don't have a mechanical broom in that department. So think of, some of the side streets, debris litter, leaf litter, pine needles. They don't have a mechanical way to pick any of that stuff up. So this will provide them mechanical opportunity to be able to pick up the debris, and then also looking at a plow to put on the front of it for the various storms that we run into. The other proposed piece of equipment is a 2011 3/4 ton Chevy pickup, foreman's truck. It's been well maintained. It's been scheduled for replacement in 2023 since it was purchased. In 2022, we had to remove a solid waste vehicle as it would not pass state inspection, and this vehicle will be repurposed there. We've installed the new sander. We've installed the new body. New purchase will be similar with a plow, sander. Estimated replacement cost $60,000, and then we'll assign the foreman's truck to solid waste. Any questions?
Yes. I had a question. What was our contribution last year? Was
196,
I believe
no,
that's,
that was the fire.
185, I think.
170 something.
Yeah, it was in the 100 and something thousand.
I thought so. The
we have Public Works,
170,
185 is correct.
185?
196 is fire trucks,
Yeah, so 185, we're going up
$15,000.
$115,000 this year.
I
Yep.
think the issue is just the condition of some of the trucks. We bought some big, they were Max, and it just aren't lasting the amount of time.
No, I understand.
They did,
I
so.
understand the issue. It just is.
Yeah, I mean, the hopeful part here is that we will be able to, once Steve gets a good handle on what is up there for equipment, hopefully we can get this leveled and have a number that is much more palatable.
Could I make a request?
Sure.
if I may, and I don't speak for the rest of the people, but I have a wish. Are we gonna have, will we have a schedule that talks about vehicle purchase date, expected replacement date, and so forth, a lot like the fire department does?
Yeah,
So
so,
we can get a better handle on what we're,
so Mr. Ford used to have this, but it's really, the equipment is not captured well in this.
Yeah,
And
okay.
Steve has this, he's running through it right now with the chief mechanic and the foreman of each department, saying, where are we at, where do we look good, where can we make some adjustments? I would anticipate, when we get into CIP next year, you'll see something very similar to this, updated with all of the equipment and
that's kind of what I
more
was,
current costs.
kind of what I was hoping for, is like kind of a
Yep.
year by year, here we are, here's the equipment, here are the years that we're gonna
Yep,
spend.
so his first week, I was away on vacation, but I asked him to spend a couple hours with Chief Zadi and go over their
Okay,
replacement cycle and asked him if he could please mirror something like this going forward.
excellent, thanks. That's all I got, Jim.
Moving on right along. Okay, sidewalk capital reserve fund. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $75,000 to be added to the existing sidewalk capital reserve fund, which is under the custody of trustee of trust funds, with selectmen designated as agents to expend. Estimated tax rate impact 2023, 3 cents per thousand of assessed valuation, recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote of 5-0. Here's an inventory of our sidewalks, which was updated in August of 2021. To get to the nuts and bolts of it, we have some sidewalks which are in good condition, we have some sidewalks which are in fair condition, and we have some sidewalks which are in poor condition. We've made strides in the good condition, but our fair condition sidewalks have dropped off, and we've increased our poor condition as well. So this document is backed up further by we put out a bid this year to have some sidewalk work done. 165 linear feet on North Main Street, Wolfeboro Inn to Meredith Savings Bank, and Central Ave around the Depot Square condominiums, 170 feet. We had 4 firms who bid on it. The North Main Street, 170 linear feet. Prices ranged from $17,000 to $63,000. Central Ave, 165 linear feet, ranged from $21,000 to $68,000. The takeaway from the engineer was, this is toward the end of the year, we're not gonna be able to get this work done anyways. He recommended we come back to the voters, we asked for a little bit more money, and if we can get a little bit more work and get it programmed in the spring, we may get a better bang for our buck. They were just throwing numbers out, in his opinion, based on, we wanted the work done before snow flew, and some of them simply couldn't do it. So we are looking for, I believe it's $75,000, and this is gonna be an ongoing issue as some of our sidewalks are in tough shape. Now, Steve, myself, and Rod Dempsey have had conversations about this. We're obviously gonna try to strategize sidewalks so that if we know that we've got a road project coming up, we are obviously not going to do that sidewalk before we do that road project. Obviously, that would be a waste of taxpayers' money. So, the takeaway is sidewalks are expensive, they're in poor shape, and we have a lot of people walking on them, and we've gotta fix them.
That Central Ave, that isn't that old, is it? The Central Ave sidewalk?
It's not, I don't know how old it is, John, but it is in terrible condition.
Yeah.
And I think if you look down around, Mill Street as well, it's the same generation of sidewalk, and they just don't seem to be holding
Yeah.
up.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir, Tom.
Those were donated.
what was,
We didn't build those.
Donated,
That was the condo put those sidewalks in and I think donated them to us.
Oh, really? Interesting.
And
It's interesting,
As I recall, it was, that's what happened.
It's interesting, the town that I was in, not growing up, but recently, they put in this faux brick. I really don't know if that is worth, you know, it looks pretty for probably about 4 or 5 years, but then it just deteriorates, especially given we have those snow removal machines. It kind of just tears it up.
Yeah, so the town I came from, they actually did that on the crosswalks. They used that fake brick
Right.
asphalt, and the plows just absolutely destroyed them.
Yeah.
So they completely went away from them.
Concrete
They just don't
is-
hold up in this part of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we had some on Mill Street down there.
Yeah, Mill Street's in a similar condition,
Yeah.
poor.
Yeah.
Question,
Good.
what's our ongoing contribution, please?
We did 1 year of 75,000, so it's slightly over 75,000 currently.
Okay, so the first year of this thing is 75,000, we're not
Last year.
changing the contribution.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, building maintenance.
To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate a sum of $50,000 to be added to the existing building maintenance capital reserve fund, which is under the custody of the trustee of trust funds with selectmen designated as agents to expend from this capital reserve fund. Estimated tax rate impact, 2 cents per thousand of assessed valuation, recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote of 5-0. We've had really good luck with this, so a couple of things that have hit us late this year, where we were able to leverage some of these funds. We had to move the condenser for the air conditioner that, or the HVAC system that handles the server room at Town Hall. That ended up being moved exterior to the building. It was originally installed interior in the basement. And it was a poor setup. And we were receiving all kinds of issues from employees because where it drew the cold air in, it was right under them, very cold, very inefficient. So we spent some money on this to get this corrected, and it seems to be working much better. We've also run into an issue at the train station with a oil tank issue. We've resolved the oil tank issue, and we anticipate next year redoing some of the deck around that as it's in poor condition. As well, I believe we did some work at the Clark complex, replacing a bunch of posts, which the fence was simply falling apart. So we fixed the fence to hopefully stabilize it for coming years. This is a good program for us. It allows us to get some work done. Oh, the other thing they did was they raised the door at the public safety building for the new ladder truck, which should be showing up within the week.
And I also saw a picture on Facebook that looked like some of the slates came off the clock tower in the town hall. That kind of a thing. We
Oh.
use this money for.
Really?
Yeah, it was the only reason I knew it, so.
Much
I could see
needed.
that there was.
Okay,
Up at
dockside
Clark.
parking lot,
Well,
let's
I
pass.
I have a question, John.
Yeah, go ahead.
Level funding, I assume?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
118,000 currently.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Wastewater treatment plant?
Wastewater treatment plant. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $200,000 to be added to the existing wastewater treatment plant capital reserve fund, which is under the custody of trustee of trust funds with selectmen designated as agents to expend this capital reserve fund. Estimated tax rate impact for 2023, 8 cents per thousand of assessed valuation, recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote 5-0. This project for 2023, we need to replace critical pumps which discharge treated effluent from the wastewater treatment plant to the effluent storage reservoir. Good news is when we replace these pumps, we won't have to replace them for the upcoming rehabilitation of the wastewater treatment plant. They'll stay there, they'll work in unison with the upgrades which will be taking place. To give you an idea, summary of the projected flows of the wastewater treatment plant, capacity up to 400,000 gallons a day. So So these pumps have got a lot of work in front of them. This takes some of the historical averages over the past 4 years. And to give you an idea, daily, these pumps are pumping 278,528 gallons, which equals 193 gallons an hour on average. So this stuff has to go somewhere, and I don't think we want it backing up into our downtown or our lake.
How much is still in that account?
It gets literally driven down to nothing every year.
So right now we have, it almost all committed, it hasn't all been spent, but we're pretty low, and to answer Bob's coming question, last year was 175,000, now it's 200,000.
Just as a general observation on these capital reserve funds, it might, I don't know whether you can do it, whether it's legal, you have to answer the question, but it might be interesting to put in the statement that it's level funded this year, or it could increase from last year, because the voters might be interested to know that when they see it.
Okay.
I don't know how anybody
Got that in my
else
notes, Bob.
does. It makes sense in these capital reserve funds if there's an increase.
Jim, we're gonna get this back up with, for when we get the, warrant articles?
Yeah.
Okay, great. I just have one thing, just to refresh my memory. I've toured all three of the ribs, the spray fields, the pond, and the wastewater treatment plant, but to refresh my memory, the wastewater coming out of the treatment plant goes right to the pond.
That's my understanding.
And then from the, there's a pump house at the pond,
Correct.
and I believe from the pond it is distributed to wherever it's going, either up to the rapid infiltration basins or to the spray field, and you could probably do both at the same time, if I'm not mistaken, so, okay, good. I was curious about it, thank you.
I'm glad we were able to answer that one.
Okay, water resources?
Okay, water resources non-capital reserve funding, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate a sum of $25,000 to be added to the existing non-capital reserve fund pursuant to RSA 35(1)C for the purpose of a watershed management plan, including engineering, design, permitting, best management practice for stormwater drainage and nutrient mitigation, grant matching, and education, which is under the trustees of trust funds with selectmen as agents to expend from this non-capital reserve fund. Estimated tax rate impact for 2023, 1 cent per thousand of assessed valuation, recommended by the Board of Selectmen, a vote of 5-0. We actually, Board of Selectmen just voted last week to use some of these funds. I believe it was for a matching grant, 319 grant for Russ Pond. So this is a good program.
Okay, Abenaki ski area.
Abenaki ski area, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate a sum of $25,000 to be added to the existing Abenaki Capital Reserve Fund, which is under the custody of the trustee of trust funds with selectmen designated as agents to expend. Estimated tax rate impact, 1 cent per thousand of assessed valuation, recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote of 5-0. This is the chart that Mr. Lohman likes to speak of. This gives you an idea of some of the expenses in the upcoming years. This year we replaced the rope, we replaced the gator, we put a contribution toward upgrading the lighting at that facility. So this is a good program. We're gonna have some big items coming down the pike with the groomer. A couple of years ago I came to you about the rope tow. We had some engineering done on the rope tow, and we're still trying to determine what's the best solution for that going forward. Very cost prohibitive. At this point, it was $500,000 or $600,000 was the price tag they were giving us to replace that. So we're looking at other options. Questions?
So if I read that right, we're going up to 25,000 from 20.
That is
right?
correct.
Thank you.
Okay.
This is a new one. So, tree removal and replacement expendable trust fund. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate a sum of $125,000 to to establish a tree removal and replacement expendable trust fund. Said fund shall be under the custody of the trustee of trust funds and to designate the selectmen as agents to expend. Estimated tax rate impact, 5 cents per thousand of assessed valuation, recommended by the Board of Selectmen by a vote 5-0. I've had a couple of really interesting meetings over the past couple of weeks. One with Bill Swafield, one with Kurt Titus, our tree warden. And one of the really interesting things, when Bill was tree warden, along with Kurt, I believe in the 80s, we were planting upwards of 20 to 50 trees a year. We haven't been doing that for a number of years. And I think if you drive around, especially after this past weekend, you can see some of the tree damage that this storm brought to us. In addition, diseased trees from the emerald ash borer, some other tree diseases, and quite frankly, the fact that some of them have matured and they're ready to be harvested. We just harvested some at the Libby Museum. It was time. They were getting to the point where they were going in the other direction. So what our plan here is to really come up with a plan. We've got a book here, which is available in this building, it's available in my office, and it's available online, I believe. But it's a tree inventory of South Main Street and Center Street. It identifies 260 trees that should be removed. 60 of them are probably town responsibility. The remainder seem to be on private property.
Who did that book? We didn't do that book, did we?
Bartlett Tree did that,
Okay.
and it was in conjunction. I'm not sure how Dave had it sanctioned, but part of it was to do with the South Main Street project. But it's really quite interesting. You probably are all aware there's quite a science to planting trees. You just don't go and drop a tree in the ground. You need to know the soils and what the preferred tree is to plant and make that determination and go forward. Kurt is excited to be able to potentially train some of our own staff to understand the maintenance of a tree and repairs, removal, and how you replace a tree. He's interested in working with us on that. We did as well at the last Board of Selectmen's meeting. Christine, myself, and Amy are working on we adopt a tree program. We have for years had an adopt a bench program in town, which has been very successful, but the problem is we're running out of places to put benches. So we're looking at repurposing that for trees, and at the last Selectmen's meeting, we received a donation in the amount of $25,000 for that purpose. I can try to answer any questions you might have. A lot of this, I will be completely honest with you, is foreign to me.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
I don't so much have a question, but a comment, actually, a compliment. Having just gone through the heavy snowstorm and the high winds that we just did, we didn't lose electric. I don't know about the rest of the town, but when you hear about what happened in the rest of the state, somebody's doing a good job. And I think this budget tree removal is just as important as replacement when it comes to electric lines.
So I will back that up with, when we were going through the CIP process, I marked this as urgent on the process, and it was because we have some trees which are turning into hazardous trees really quickly. And somebody in that committee said, well, you've come here, you've told us that we've got hazardous trees. You've basically put us on notice. We need to do something. We need to approve this, and we need to keep it moving. I appreciated that a great deal because it put it nicely. But the takeaway is, and I know the board is on this as well, this gets approved, we've got to hit the ground with a plan to remove some of these trees, and as well a plan to plant trees. Now I'll sit here and tell you, We may remove some trees down South Main Street, but we're not gonna plant any trees on South Main Street until we do the South Main Street construction. Just would be a bad idea to plant trees and then dig everything up in 2 years, potentially.
John?
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Bob.
No, I just want to say, a while back, I sent an email to Barry, and I think I CC'd it to you, Jim. I had 5 trees across from me, right next to Brewster Field, right next to the wires on Clark Road. And five ash trees, all dead. And I wanted to let Barry know because I was concerned about the electric line. I believe that feeds the nursing home. So, and that was a few months ago. So 3 of them are gone. They fell down. And, but fortunately, they fell into the field and away from the wires. So there's 2 left, and you know, if they go down, I hope they go that way too. But you know, so that's it. That's it to me, John.
Thank you.
And we're hoping the welfare department is gonna be starting a, part of their warmth and more fund, they're gonna be starting a wood bank. My son Brody has brought the idea to the town, so any of the town trees that get taken down will be repurposed, hopefully, if we
I
can,
can't
to
hear you.
use them as a wood bank.
Go ahead, John.
For fuel.
So we don't have a plan yet.
That's correct. I mean, we have this, which identifies 60 trees on town property that should be removed.
Okay.
So we do have something, but, you know, my priority, I think, going into next year is to assess Albee Beach. What are the trees like around Albee Beach? What are the trees like around the Brewster Beach parking lot? Those high volume areas where we might see people.
So really, you have to come up with a plan first. So is this $125,000 for the plan?
No, this would be for work.
This is a swag then?
No, I don't think it is, because if you have somebody come in and remove a tree,
It's a swag.
if you have somebody come in and remove a tree with a crane, you're looking at $2,000 a tree.
I'm not questioning that. How many trees are we gonna talk about for this year?
Well, if you wanna use this book, we can talk about 60 right off the top.
Okay, so we're going to have some money for the planning, future planning. And then we have,
This is not gonna go away.
I'm not saying it's going to go away, I'm just very curious, the basis of this $125,000, that's all.
Yeah, fair question, and the Board of Selectmen have asked me the same question, and the plan is, we've got this booklet that says we've got 60 trees on town property that need to be removed. We've got properties that incorporate 3 beaches, and those all have very large trees that are matured. We need to have them evaluated to determine whether or not they should be removed, or if there should be maintenance done to them, and where can we plant trees.
I'll come in tomorrow.
Okay.
Thank
So,
you.
and also, John has a humongous ash tree that's dead right across from his driveway in Clark Park.
Yep.
So that should be put on the list.
Yep, that tree was actually treated for the emerald ash borer, and obviously the treatment did not work.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a question.
Yeah.
Jim, I guess, you know, the question comes up, if that study identified a certain number of trees on South Main Street and Center Street, where do we go from that point to identify and inventory trees on, beyond that, on town roads? You know, if this 125 this year is strictly for work, I mean, how do we plan forward to identify additional trees?
Good question. One of the things that I've been trying to do, based on my previous career, I am very familiar with the State Forest Ranger, Warden, and I've talked with him, you know, is there funds available for these diseased trees? Because it's a problem for our community. He said at this point, there's nothing, but he will work on it on his end. I think the takeaway, Brian, is we get this new town engineer on board. This is gonna be handed to that individual. And basically said, I need to identify the priority of removing these trees, and we also need to plan at looking at other areas. Kurt is willing to work with us as well. He's retired now from Bartlett Tree. And, you know, I think one of the takeaways on it may be next year, you know, when I met and talked with him, it was pretty interesting. I said, I believe you get a stipend for $500, correct? He's like, yeah, that's correct. I said, well, I think that's a little bit low if we're asking you to do this much work. I said, it's a little bit insulting, I think. And he said, what's more insulting is I don't get called and used for this type of work. So he wants to be involved, and I think he's the right person to help us out with whoever we bring on for an engineer who works on the roads. He wants to be able to work with Barry, Steve Randall, all of the stakeholders who utilize tree removal companies to come up with a comprehensive plan.
But I think the reality is, this was 600 and some odd trees. We looked at 260 where it had to come down as soon as possible. And that's in a small area. We all drive through town. You can see, I can go up Pleasant Valley Road and see them all. And there are a whole bunch of dead maples and so, this is just, you're right, this is the tip of the iceberg
Sure.
of what we have. And we need to see if we can get rid of some of those dead trees. And I think we all can drive around and see where they are.
Okay, Carpenter School Playground,
One question, John.
yeah.
Of the dead trees, the ones that have to come down, what percentage are going to be ash?
I mean, I haven't looked at this enough to see the breakdown of it, or Matt, but it's probably in here. It's a really comprehensive study, and it gives a lot of information.
Hemlocks are getting hit hard too.
Yeah. We've got a lot of old sugar maples.
The old ones, yeah,
Yeah.
so you get mature, but I'm seeing problems with most of the ash, all of the,
The emerald borders wiping them
all
out.
of the ash.
Yeah, and I mean,
My
they,
lands, all-
they're also getting into the different variations of ash, so it's, I mean, it's very comprehensive.
I had a large one die that came down, I had taken down in my yard, and it had been dead for about 2 years, and the wood is still usable. It's not like it's all rotted out inside and it can't be burnt. It can still be used and burnt.
Okay, Jim, Carpenter School Playground,
So that is not in front of you, the Board of Selectmen have not weighed in on it yet. The next one is the Warmth and More Fund expanded. I don't know if you guys will vote on this, because it doesn't really involve funds, but it's here anyways, and it'll be going on the warrant. See whether the town will vote to authorize an expansion of the existing Warmth and More Fund as approved by voters in 2021 for the purpose of expanding the program to operate a wood bank to assist those in need of firewood for heating purposes. Passage of this article would allow the town to accept donations of firewood into the wood bank. Distribution of the firewood for heating purposes would be determined by the welfare director. No tax rate impact, approved by the Board of Selectmen, 5-0.
I don't think we'll vote on that.
Yeah, so you are correct, we do have a petition warrant article. I'm anticipating at least one more petition warrant article. The last day for us to accept petition warrant articles is January 10th. So right now, those are kind of on hold, because we wanna get all of the articles in before we move forward. So that is the warrant articles.
Will
at
the
this
select
point.
board have a meeting on the 10th, if there's other articles that come in?
Yeah, I don't remember what the schedule is, but.
Okay, we got plenty of time, we have an open date that day. So right now, we've still gotta do the public safety building, the South Main Street Center to Smith River Bridge. What about the sewer extension? Is that Forest Road?
Sewer extension, correct. Libby Museum. Police cruiser,
Police cruiser, school resource officer,
school resource officer, fire truck.
fire truck, okay.
That's it, right, Casey?
7, yep.
And, well, what's going on with the playground, that's another,
That's a petition one,
that's
so
a petition one.
I just put it on there as a placeholder.
Okay, so we don't put any recommendation with that?
We don't know that answer because they are asking to use funds, so I don't know.
Okay.
We were gonna get a legal opinion, is that correct,
Yep.
Jim?
Was that petition through the school district for citizens?
Citizens.
Citizens asking to use $50,000.
Okay. You got the list, Leanne, what we need? Okay. Okay, so for Thursday, what do you think you'll be able to provide us? All the remaining warrant articles, or?
My hopes are that I can provide you the articles that we went over tonight. Are you gonna vote or are you gonna hold off?
I'm gonna hold on.
Okay, so you're just looking, so we will hopefully have a fire truck warrant article, a school resource, police officer article, a police vehicle article. That's it. The rest are bonds, which have not been,
What about the fire trucks?
I did say the fire truck, didn't
A
I?
fire truck, police SRO
Fire truck,
vehicle,
school resource officer,
and then
police vehicle.
four bonds, that's correct.
Yeah,
4 bonds and 3 revisits for Thursday, or review,
so the sewer extension, that's,
a bond.
okay. And the bonds will be done,
So
January.
January 4th,
okay,
the Board of Selectmen will be holding the bond hearing. I can provide you the language for your review.
yeah, I just wanna be able to have Leanne schedule when we should have the next meeting. I'm gonna say we're probably gonna go right up to, we may not even have the public hearing on the 12th.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if we're gonna have everything done by then.
Well, we might have an issue because we have to hold the first public hearing and the second public hearing by that date,
By the 12th?
by the following, the 16th, I think, which is the following week. I don't have the dates in front of me.
Okay,
Casey does.
I originally scheduled them the week after, and then I had to reschedule them a week earlier.
okay.
We don't have a choice, we have to hold our public hearing.
So if you folks could keep that in consideration with your meetings and your voting, that would be great.
Well, by the time we're done the 4th.
The 4th, we should be done.
You should be
But
done with
you said
everything.
We're gonna hold the public hearings, and then after we hear what the public says, we would vote on it.
But I think you had, didn't you have an inclement weather date of the 11th?
We do, it was the 11th.
Okay,
Okay, but that's our first public hearing date.
Yeah, and what we would do is we would hold it before your public hearing.
Okay, but we usually meet at 6 o'clock and then the public hearing's at 7.
Yeah, but we can meet at 5, we're
Right.
meeting at 5 before
Okay.
the meeting on Thursday.
Yeah, I'm just, because I think you said 6 o'clock, so I'm just making sure you're aware of.
So yes, so the meeting on the 4th is at 6 o'clock. Let's hope that we meet on the 4th and we're done.
Okay, so if you meet on the 11th,
we should be
Fine.
okay.
You
We're
guys
meeting
should
at 5 on this Wednesday to do the one, so that we get it for you by the 6 o'clock, and we can make any kind of adjustments to meet your meeting.
So you wanna use the 5th as
January 11th here,
default budget estimated revenues,
on this thing.
and what are we gonna do on the 5th? Are we gonna use that for the default budget estimated revenues?
so the next, okay, wait a minute, please. Okay, so. The next meeting is.
Wednesday's coffee and 51, we're all set.
So the next meeting, your new agenda said warrant articles, so it would be those 3, default budget, estimated revenues, and consideration of minutes. And then on the 29th, which is this Thursday.
Yeah, we're not gonna do the minutes. Do you have estimated revenues that are accurate?
Nope, Board of Selectmen will be reviewing them at 5 o'clock on the 29th, and I hope to hand them over to you on the 29th.
Yeah, so default and revenue were supposed to be tonight. They're not gonna be addressed by the Board of Selectmen until Thursday. So the remaining warrant articles, default and estimated revenues, will be Thursday night's agenda,
We're gonna move those to the next meeting, the 5th, because there may be questions on that stuff, and I don't wanna
Okay.
Casey's busy and she's got stuff to do and I don't wanna,
I am behind. I was, out sick for a few days, so
Yeah.
that is why,
that's no problem, Casey.
yeah, no, I was supposed to have it on the selectmen's meeting last week, so.
Yeah, that's no issue here, so we're
Thank
gonna
you, I
move that.
appreciate that.
We're gonna move default budget and estimated revenues to the 5th,
To final budget review?
and with final budget review, yeah.
Okay. So only warrant articles are for Thursday?
Yeah.
Okay.
John, you technically only have 3 though,
3 warrant articles,
Thursday, so it
Because
seems like
the
a
bond
very
day.
short
Right.
meeting.
that suits me just fine.
Okay, just so you're aware.
I'm sure Jim can make it a
Well,
little bit longer.
so I guess my question is for Thursday night, you don't necessarily need the department heads here to answer the warrant articles that we talked about tonight.
No, I'm sure you'll have most of the answers,
Yeah.
yeah,
They'll be happy with you.
unless you have some comments.
No, I just, Casey's gonna have the default and estimated. It's already gonna be ready. She
Yeah, but
has
she-
to have it for the board
She's got things she's
selectmen.
got, I know, but we'll just move on from that.
You will just be getting it that night though, so you won't have time to look at it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's, I think, is the point.
Okay, so we're gonna do the warrant articles tomorrow night.
Thursday night.
Thursday
Not
night.
Thursday night, yeah, and we'll do the minutes,
So you do wanna do the minutes now?
yeah, we'll knock out the minutes. So the next meeting on the January 5th, we'll do the default budget, estimated revenues, and the final budget review.
That's
So-
when the department heads should come.
Yeah. Does that work with you, Jim?
That's fine.
And that's where we'll make any adjustments that need to be made into any of the budgets. Will you provide us with the changes for the gas? I see the price of gas is going down.
So we'll provide you with adjustments for gas, motions for adjustment for gas, and motion for adjustment for wages
On the 5th,
on the 5th.
for the
correct?
5th, right?
Yeah,
So non-union wages and fuel.
and we're all set on the insurance, health insurance, dental insurance,
Yep.
all that.
I have a
That's all we
summary sheet that I will hand out,
do. Okay, is that all
with-
taken care of, or do we have to make some adjustments on that?
no, with what you've already done as of
Okay.
last week, I have that adjustment already done.
Okay, does anyone have any other questions? Okay, any questions from the public? No? Okay, I guess we'll do a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.